Hi, I'm Liz. I'm one of the technical specialists here in the science department. I look after our criminalistics lab here. You usually find forensic students here, forensic investigation students and forensic science students. We sometimes get some of our policing students if they like to do some of the scientific stuff as well. Okie doke. So students would come into this lab once they'd been to the crime scene house. They would collect all their evidence. They would come into our evidence store. So they would sign in their evidence and then they can leave their evidence until they need to come and analyse it. And then it's free for them to come close to hand whenever they need it. We have Glasstop benches that we use for our fingerprint development. So the students can feel free to dust the benches and look at evidence on there. It's easy clean and it also means everything is viewable through the powders, whether it's magnetic or aluminium. We've got our fume cabinets for the then developing of the fingerprints. We also do chemical developing there. Along with our humidity oven, we can get a nice range of the home office development processes from the powdering, the ninhydrin, the indane through to our physical developer. Once we've got a viewable image, the students would then come into our AFIS room, which is our automated fingerprint identification system, and they would scan in their image, put in key points that we would then get a match against a known perpetrator in the system, and it would highlight the key minutiae in the fingerprints so that they can then identify if they've got a victim or a suspect. Okay. Once they've done that, they would write up their report and follow through to the crime scene house with that evidence. We've also have our comparator microscopes that we use for our toolware practicals. We can also use these for cartridge identification, so we can look at the striations on gun cartridges to compare them side by side, again with tool marks as well. So they would develop and work on a number of weapons to then see if they could identify a set weapon at a crime scene. We have our VSC here, our visual comparator, and what this does is it can look at the fluorescence of materials. So we use it for ink identification and also suspect documents, that kind of thing. So the students can do a comparison of an ink. If they were given a document at a crime scene and then given a pen from a suspect's house, they could then match the pen to the document here. Okay, we've got two of these here, so students don't have to wait for equipment, which is nice. We have our Raman Microscope, our Raman Renishaw, and this can identify, we look at drugs, paints and materials such as that, and we look at the infrared ranges on those through the spectroscopy. We've then got a lower level Raman here, which the students tend to use in conjunction with the VSC. We look at the inks on papers so they can look at the different spectra to see if they match a suspect pen. So the students can then use that. They can either print their images or they can take them away on a memory stick to put in their report. We've got our ESDA Machines, which is our electrostatic detection apparatus. And here the students will have a suspect document that they will put on the platform. They take a film over the top, and this then allows them to subject it to a charge, and this highlights the indentations in a page. This can then be highlighted with a carton of toner that we then pour over the item, and then that highlights the indentations on there. They can then fix it with a piece of the adhesive sheet, and then that is a piece of evidence that they can go away, and they can also look at handwriting identification with that as well. So we have, again, 2 of those. They are quite portable, so sometimes we do take these out onto days out when we go and do demonstrations. We've got our FTIR, our Fourier transform detector, and at the moment this is being used an awful lot by the project students, the practical students, when they're looking at drugs and paint samples. They put them under the Golden Gate Bridge here, they clamp it through the diamond, and then this is identified on the screen. And we can also, at the moment, our microplastics research group is using it alongside the microscope to identify microplastics that are unknown that they've found in the Hudson River. Again, a good piece of kit used in conjunction with the Raman and the VSC, and also this links in with the analytical lab where the drugs and the paints also are used. So another good piece of kit. Here we have our Nikon Microscope that the students do their glass analysis on. So they would, a suspect sample of glass, they would grind up in the pestle and mortar. They would then put a small amount of the refractive oil onto the slide, add the glass. It's then put onto the plate and heated up, and as soon as you cannot see the glass, it matches the refractive index of that oil, and that means you have the refractive index of the glass. So that's another good piece of evidence that the students usually use when if they found a suspect bottle at a crime scene as well. So they are all the pieces of kit in our Criminalistics lab that the students have full use of throughout the whole of their degree.